Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, Coach Janine from Whole Body Health. Welcome to my Monday mobility class. Today, I'm going to be focusing on a big culprit of back pain. It's not one of the only reasons why we have back pain, obviously, but it's often overlooked by people. And I've never really realized how overlooked it was until I started doing massage. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a massage therapist. Everyone thinks, oh, magic, you fix the problem. Well, no, I actually just found the problems. One of those problems being the glutes, right? I'm real big on working the glutes and working the glutes not only deep into the tissue, but working the glute with some leg motion, right? So today I'm going to show you how you can work those glutes on your own. Before we do that, just a little side note on the glute information. The first thing I see people be prescribed through physical therapy, I'm actually kind of guilty of this too because the glutes are pretty lazy on most people. Clamshells, glute bridges. If your glutes are tight, if you're sitting all the time and your glutes are tight, you're not addressing those. What do you think's happening when you add all those glute exercises in? Think about that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So today I'm actually going to use a box. You can also use a wall. I may go back and forth between the wall and the box just to show you the different ways to do it. I'm using a softball today. You can use a tennis ball if you're just starting out. You can also use a lacrosse ball. With it being a smaller ball, kind of pushes in a little bit more on the glutes. So if your glutes are really tight, you might want to opt for something a little larger. You can also use a foam roller. I've started people out on a foam roller when the ball is a little too intense. So pick your poison, pick what works for you, pick something that is going to get into the glutes, but not cause you to grip and not be able to relax. Remember, when you're doing soft tissue work, if you can't relax and breathe through it, you're not getting as much benefit as you would if you could relax. So breathing really helps. If you can relax, the tissue will relax too. Okay, so I've got a softball. So where I'm going to put this ball, I'm going to try to get it right on this upper part of the glute. Now remember, you never want to go on the bone itself, so you're going to avoid the pelvic crest here, but we're going to go right underneath that in this spot here. So when we do those clamshells, we're targeting this whole area in here. You'll probably feel that when you do that. So a little tricky because I've got a smooth surface here, but still possible. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to try to show you as best as possible without taking my sweatshirt off. Okay, and I'm just gonna get into this area. So now I'm right in like where the sacrum comes in. And I'm just kind of searching right now. So I'm gonna kind of keep my hand near the ball so it doesn't roll out on me. I'm just kind of searching for that spot. Now here's a spot here that's super tender. And I'm just gonna try to relax into it. Remember I talked about that gripping or not gripping. So what I mean by that is if you take a big deep breath and then let it out, your body will relax and you'll notice whether you're gripping or not. In fact, I was just gripping before I said that. Making sure to breathe. Oh, there's a spot there. It's kind of rolled over it. You'll find some little spots that feel like rubber bands. Sometimes you'll feel like a little thump thump. It's not supposed to be there. So if you're feeling thump thumps, those might be areas you need to work on. And I'm just kind of turning towards the outside here. Definitely finding more towards the outside. Now everyone's a little different. So yours might be more closer to the sacrum area. Mine is getting further out towards the outside of the hip there, where the attachment into the femur is. Trying to relax into it. Now, after you've done this for a little while, usually if you're beginning, a good 30 seconds, that's probably a good place to start. If you've been doing this for a while, maybe a little bit longer, you can kind of see how long it takes. I tell people no longer than 90 seconds. So if your muscle's not going to relax in 90 seconds, you're probably just going to beat it up by continuing to hold onto it with the ball or whatever it is you're pressing into the muscle with. So give it a break. After 90 seconds, if you don't feel any tissue change, it's still, you feel like you're gripping against it, move on to something else. Okay, so right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shift my leg in. So these are those leg movements I was talking about. So now I'm going leg out, whew, and then coming back, leg in. Okay, so I'm just going through a little range of motion here. And I'm going to show you guys, you can actually do this on the wall as well, a little harder. I'm going to actually switch sides to show you this. Okay, so I'm going to lean into the wall, and this one I'm going to kind of hold the ball again. This one I can get a little higher on the hip, which is good. You can always go to the floor with this too. So I'm showing on the box on the wall just because I feel like I always show everything on the floor. But you can do this in many different positions. A little harder with the leg movements on this one because you have to support yourself, but it is possible. So I can lean on my right leg here. Left leg is what I've got pushed against the wall here, and then in and out. You can also find your spot and you can bring that leg up and across and then out and then back down. So I'm just using different leg motions to see what's going to give me the most benefit as I release that tissue. If you haven't already switched sides, guys, make sure you go ahead and switch sides so you're getting both sides. I switched when I came to the wall. Okay. Making sure to get that internal movement also. That is something a lot of us are lacking. We get really good external movement, but as soon as we go to cross over the midline, we have an issue doing that. I know I have an issue doing that. I noticed that last night working out. Problem with that internal, something I'll have to work on some more. We all have stuff to work on. And the more you're aware as you move, the more you'll find those areas that are really restricting your body and causing you the pain and discomfort that you feel. So one thing to really think about is that just because you have pain in your back doesn't mean your back is the problem. Another key piece to think about today. Okay, I'm going to come back to the box. So now where I'm going now, it's going to be more down in this spot. So more in the middle of your butt. Okay, again, I'm going to hold the ball there because this is nice to roll around. So a good marker is going to be your sit bone. Now everyone has sit bones. I've told people to sit, find your sit bone. They're like, I don't have a sit bone. I have too much down there. I don't care how much cushioning you have on your butt. You have a sit bone. You got two of them, one on each side. So find your sit bone. I'm just above the sit bone right now. Okay. And I'm going to work from above the sit bone towards the outside a little bit. Yep, there's a good spot. Makes my legs shake a little bit too. Can't see that on camera. And then I'm going to pin it down and I'm going to do just a little bit of leg movement here. Now, if you feel anything nervy, move off the spot because you're probably pinching the sciatic nerve. It runs right through that area. Okay, but you can find a spot. You don't have to move very far to find a spot where you're not getting that nervy feeling. Just holding on to that spot, using those leg movements. Everyone's spot's a little different. Like I said, everyone's spot takes a little, different amount of time to release, 30 to 90 seconds, depending on how often you've been doing this, depending on what you're using too. So with a foam roller, it may take closer to that 90 seconds. With a lacrosse ball or with a softball, it may be less than 90 seconds. Okay, so I'm just gonna give my butt a second to relax. Let's go ahead and move to the other side while that side is relaxing. So I do want to show you one more thing. So finding the sit bone, rolling so the ball goes above the sit bone a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of search that middle of the butt area for anything that's a little tense. And then relaxing. Might feel a little bit like an arm workout too as you hold yourself up. A little added benefit. Using those leg motions. Really see if you can get that internal rotation where it comes all the way across the midline of the body. Whew. Take a couple big deep breaths. Try to relax. I just realized I was gripping. Try not to grip. Relax into it. Whew. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and give that a second to relax again. So now we're gonna go back to the other side. I've got one more release area for you. And then I want to show you just a couple stretches because releasing and then stretching is kind of a double whammy for releasing tight areas. So we're going to take the ball again, or the roller, whatever you have. We're going to find that sit bone once again, and we're going to go underneath it this time. So this time we're grabbing not only some glute attachments in there, but we're also getting the hamstring attachment. Okay, so coming underneath, I'll turn sideways this time. I'm going to find my sit bone, so I'm right back on top of the sit bone now, and I'm going to rock it back, so pushing my butt that way. Whew. And there's some good spots. So this is one here, again, that's highly individual. So some people can rock it towards the outside and feel more out there, so more getting into that lateral hamstring. And then the glute maximus that runs into the IT band there. Or some people, if you rock it more towards the inside, so I'm kind of angling my body. And actually, I'll turn again so you guys can see. Okay, so I just rocked to the outside here. Now I'm gonna rock to the inside. So now I'm grabbing a little bit of the inner thigh. Okay, so I've got the medial hamstring attachment that runs more down the inside of the leg. And then I'm catching some of those adductors as I roll to the inside. Trying to relax, trying to release your weight onto the ball or onto the roller, whatever it is you're using. Like to use a little bit of back and forth. Ooh, up and down. It's a good spot in there. And you're finding the spot that works for you. There's a good one right there, kind of right in the middle. And then let's go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so finding the sit bone, letting it roll back a little bit, and then we're just gonna kind of hunt around. Ooh, now this one here is a little more on the outside than I found on the other leg. This is why it's always important to address both sides, whether it's a leg, arm, the torso, whatever it is you're addressing, the foot. Always address both sides because you never know what's happening on the opposite side. So sometimes we'll feel tension in one side, but then when we go to the other side, we realize that, oh, well, maybe the problem's coming from the other side and causing the tension on the side that we feel the tension the most. You never know. So always address the other side. So here I'm finding stuff on the outside. And again, I'm just below the sit bone. Just gonna spend a little bit of time here, just kind of rocking back and forth, side to side, making my way back. Now I'm in the middle there. I'm gonna make my way, angling more towards the inside, and definitely less going on the inside than on the other leg for me. Still a little bit of soreness in there. Now, when you find tender tissue, that is not happy tissue. So when someone walks up to you and tries to like massage your neck and shoulders and you're like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. That's not a good sign. That's a sign that there's something going on there. Tension, inflammation, unless you've just worked out. If you've just worked out, I mean, it's understandable that you have soreness. But if that soreness lasts for days and days or weeks, there's something going on in that tissue. So you definitely want to address it. Okay, so now I'm back to the middle. I just want to show you one more thing you can do here. You can find those little tender spots and you can actually use your leg motion with it. So you can kick your foot up and down. What I'm doing is putting some stretch on the hamstrings as I raise, and then I'm releasing them. So I'm just adding a little bit of pin and stretch to the back of the leg there. Okay, so that's always an option if you find that there's not really much going on or if there's a lot going on. You can always play with those leg positions there. And again, you've got the internal and external rotation also that you can play with. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on real quick because I know time is running out. Only got a minute or so. So to follow that up, you want to try to do some stretches. So you can do them seated. I will do that now since I am seated. Now I'll move my box around. So here we just got the figure 4 cross stretch, sitting up nice and tall with this. If you want to lean it forward, you can always push it forward. Now remember to keep the back nice and flat. As soon as you cave here, that decreases the amount of stretch and it puts you in a very poor position. So stretch it up nice and tall and lean from the waist, lean from the hips here versus leaning from the torso or mid-back, I guess that would be. Okay, you can also do a crossover stretch, a little harder to do seated, but possible. So where you pull over, so sit up nice and tall, pull on the leg. You can stop right here if you'd like, or you can add a little bit of rotation with it. Just make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. That way you're not wrenching on your lower back. Okay, making sure to breathe. This stretch here is always a good test too to actually show you how tight your glutes are. So getting down on the floor and getting into this stretch here. If you can't get into it at all, you got some work to do. Okay, and let's go ahead and switch sides. So we'll go to the figure 4 first, and it opens up the hip. You get more of like kind of this area here, at least for me. Everyone says it's a little different. I always tell people, oh, where do you feel it right here? Oh no, I feel it here. Sometimes it's surprising where people feel things. Other times it's like, oh, well, that's just a spot that's different for you. Yeah, I like to rock back and forth. Definitely more tightness on this side. This is usually my side that is tight. And again, you can push it forward if you need to, or you can stay upright if this is enough. For me on this side, it is definitely enough. More work for me to do. Always something, guys. I've been asked before, well, when does it all go away? Well, I hate to tell you, but it doesn't go away. It's kind of, I tell people you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you don't work out or you're not active, you're definitely damned. If you do work out and you're active, you're damned in a whole nother way. But if it's up to me, I would rather take the working out and being active and strengthening my body and be damned with tightness than to be damned the opposite way with illness and disease. Okay, so let's go ahead and cross this one, sit it nice and tall, pull it apart or pull it across the body and rotate. Now for me, this side is definitely not as tight in with this stretch as the other side. I also tell people if you find a side that's not as tight or needing to be released, don't spend as much time there. Address it, check it out, and then move on. So if you're holding your stretches for 90 seconds and this side is you're not feeling any stretch, move on. Don't spend 90 seconds there, but move on to something else that needs your attention versus just kind of going through the motions. Use your time efficiently. Okay, guys, that's about it for today. There are a million different things I could show you, but with 10 minutes, that's a good little introduction to some glute stretching releases and to get you going. So let me know if you have any questions. You can leave me some comments. You can PM me directly. Enjoy your week. Make it great, guys, and I'll catch you next Monday.